Hello and welcome back to Off the Post. In today's video we'll be discussing the most controversial transfer rumours of the season so far, but before that, as always, please like, comment, subscribe. It's very much appreciated and it goes a long way in helping me build a small community on my channel. We've recently just hit 51 subscribers on the channel so far, and I just want to say a massive thank you for everybody showing your support on these videos, all of the likes and the comments, all of the support on social media as well. It definitely doesn't go unnoticed, and I want to say a massive thank you for everybody doing just an amazing job so far. But let's get straight into the video, shall we? This is a tier list ranking 8 players in total, 8 transfer rumours from the most controversial players. When I say controversial, I mean, like, you know, players who haven't played well this season, or who need a transfer away from their club, who needs a fresh start to potentially get them back kicking in the football scene, and, you know, do some good stuff for their potential new clubs. You know, I'm not saying they're bad players by any means. I'm just saying they need a transfer away to get a fresh start and you know, get things rolling again, because some players on this list, you know, they just haven't been that great last season, at least anyway. We've got a tier list which contains 5 categories so far, which are unbelievable Jeff, fantastic signing, good business, confusing, and no thanks. Okay, let's get on with the so let's get on with the first player on this list, which is Garnacho for Manchester United. Obviously the Argentinian left winger. Okay, now this guy has been heavily rumoured away for a transfer away from the club for a good 6 months now, especially in January last season, when he was linked to the likes of Chelsea and Napoli, and both clubs are very much still heavily linked to Garnacho. They're very much in the race still, and it's looking like Chelsea might be the next destination for him. But for me, when I think about the transfer away, I don't know if it's a bit of a hasty one, because when he comes off the bench for Manchester United, he's very important. He's very essential, because he does get you a few goals here and there, does get you a few assists. He's one of the few attackers in that Manchester United side that actually gets you goals. And don't get me wrong, some of his off the pitch antics are a little bit damaging to the club and to his image in that sort of aspect, so I do get that. But if a manager can sort of get the best out of Garnacho and sort of hone in those skills and make him focus onto the pitch, I really do think he can become a world-class player. It's just whether or not a manager can do that or not. So for me, you know, he has been linked to a move to Chelsea, I want to say for around about 30 to 40 million potentially. And again, at Chelsea, it's a bit of a weird one, just because they're linked with wingers like left, right and centre. Obviously, they've recently signed João Pedro. They're looking to sign Gittins as well from Borussia Dortmund. So I don't know if this Chelsea rumour makes sense or not. Maybe going abroad to Napoli or someone like that might be a little bit beneficial for Garnacho. But for Chelsea, I feel like it's a bit confusing transfer. So it is a bit of a weird one. If it's the option between, you know, Chelsea or staying at Manchester United, I probably would start at Manchester United, just because he's going to get more guaranteed minutes on that left wing position. Right, moving over to the next player on this list is Douglas Luiz for Juventus. Okay, now when we speak about Douglas Luiz at Juventus, he's had a rough time last season. Didn't get that many minutes involved in the season at all. He played a handful of minutes, you know, and when he did come on, he didn't look a lot impressive as he did previously at Aston Villa. He was fantastic at Aston Villa. Every season he was getting better and better, and that was the reason why he got his big moves to Juventus. But for whatever reason, he just hasn't impressed over there in Italy, and now he's been linked back to a move with the likes of Manchester United, a Leeds United. I've seen a return to Aston Villa potentially on the cards, and I do think whichever club picks up a Douglas Luiz will be a fantastic bit of business, just because the player is a very good deep lining midfielder, playing in that CDM position, who can like pick out a pass, who can score some goals from deep. You can run into the box and score as well. Has a good decent shot on him, and he's actually half decent at defending as well. So Douglas Luiz, don't get me wrong, there are a few faults in his game with the sort of you know, he gets caught out a few times defensively and whatnot, and positionally sometimes he can be a little bit better. But for me, I feel like it would be a fantastic signing. I feel like he would probably get a Premier League move, whether that's Leeds United or a Aston Villa. I can't see it being Aston Villa, so maybe a Leeds United be on the cards. So I think if Leeds can somehow make that deal happen, I feel like that would be a fantastic signing, because he's a proven Premier League player. So if Leeds United can do that, I feel like that will elevate our midfield to another level and potentially help them stay in the Premier League next season. Who knows? Okay, moving over to another winger on this list, that is Jadon Sancho. Now, he's been linked with a move to Juventus and Fenerbahce. Now, for me, when we speak about Jadon Sancho, obviously he was on loan at Chelsea last season, and I feel like his season was sort of somewhat underrated because when you look at his statistics, he got 15 goal involvements, I'm pretty sure, or he scored 15 goals alone, I'm pretty sure, something like that. So from that point of view, he has been involved. He does score you goals, but I just think his overall play hasn't sort of helped out Chelsea when they needed him to. From that sort of aspect, they had an obligation to buy Jadon Sancho from Manchester United, but Chelsea haven't taken Manchester United up on that offer for whatever reason. So now he's been linked with Juventus, and Juventus could be a good move for him because when you look at their wingers, they've obviously got Yilmaz, who's a fantastic talent. The Turkish left winger, he's been one of the best in the Serie A this season. He is fantastic, but obviously on the right hand side now, where Jadon Sancho can play, they don't really have a number one option. I feel like they've got a Portuguese winger. I can't really pronounce his name properly, so I'm not even going to attempt to say his name. But I feel like they've only recently signed him as well last season. So Jadon Sancho could potentially become a starting winger on the right hand side for Juventus. So I want to say that would be good business for Juventus. It's just depending again. There's a lot of rumours out there. Like obviously Jadon Sancho has an attitude problem. So again, similar to Garnacho, it just depends if a manager can get the best out of a Jadon Sancho. For me, we never really know if these rumours are correct or not, just because as football fans, we just don't know whether, the in-house sort of stuff at the football scene in these football clubs are actually true or not. We will never know if Jadon Sancho has an attitude problem unless he comes out and says it directly. But again, when we speak about on the pitch now for Jadon Sancho, he was such a fantastic talent at Borussia Dortmund breaking through. He was fantastic, in the Bundesliga. He was scoring goals left, right and centre. He was assisting left, right and centre. He was tearing up defenders. He was getting past every single right back, every single centre back in the league, okay? Nobody could stop him. Now, at Manchester United now, he just looked a shadow of his former self. Nothing was happening for him for whatever reason. So it just depends if a manager can get the best out of him. And maybe at Juventus, he can get a fresh start, maybe with less eyes around him, with less media attention. Maybe he might, thrive again in a different league. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, moving over to another player now. That is Lucas Paqueta for West Ham. He's been linked with a move back to Flamengo in the Brazilian league. Okay, now for me, this is a very controversial transfer just because obviously he's at the peak of his powers. At the age of 27, he's fantastic. He's one of the best midfielders in that West Ham side. But I just don't know if he suits that Graham Potter system. Maybe that might be the reason why he's been linked to a transfer away from the club. But if I was the West Ham manager, if that was me, I would definitely want to keep Lucas Paqueta. He's fantastic on the ball, his dribbling ability, his passing ability, his shooting range as well. He's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, he probably should be scoring more goals and getting more assists than he did last season. I feel like the West Ham players as a whole didn't do great. West Ham as a team didn't do great last season, but I would definitely be keeping him. So it's a bit of a confusing transfer for me. And then again, I might put it in no thanks just because I feel like West Ham should be doing everything they can, everything possible to be keeping hold of a Lucas Paqueta. Why would you want to sell him? Don't get me wrong, it's great business for a Flamengo, but for the player, it makes no sense. So for me, from that sort of aspect of things, I'm putting it in no thanks because West Ham should be keeping him whatever with the weather. Okay, that's probably not even a saying, but I've just made it up. Thank you very much. Okay, moving over now to another player on this list. We've got 4 players left, and now we've got Christopher Nkunku for Chelsea. Okay, now when we speak about this player, obviously the £35 million rated French midfielder, he is half decent. Now, don't get me wrong, he was fantastic at an RB Leipzig. He was brilliant, and that's where he showed his class, showed his world-class ability and all this sort of stuff. He was tearing it up in the Bundesliga, and for whatever reason now, when he's at Chelsea, he just hasn't done it that much. So it is a bit of a weird one. Maybe that's in terms of injury problems, not getting enough minutes, maybe the manager not trusting him enough to sort of perform in those big games. I don't know. For whatever reason, Christopher Nkunku just hasn't had enough minutes, and that's why he's been linked away to Manchester United, of course. Now, for me, I don't know if Manchester United would be the right fit, just because obviously they've recently signed Matheus Cunha. Obviously they're trying to sign Brian Mbeumo as well. So when you look at a Christopher Nkunku, would he be the right player for that Ruben Amorim sort of style and system? I'm not too sure. Maybe he can play that false nine sort of position. Again, I don't know if that's his best place. Maybe it would be one of those two number 10 positions. When you've already bought a Cunha and you're trying to buy Mbeumo, I just don't know if Nkunku sort of fits that area as well. I feel like that's too many players in that one position, because you've also got Mason Mount there and you've got Garnacho unless he leaves. But for me, I feel like that is another confusing transfer. Right, moving over now to another player on this list, and that is Valentino Barcola, the left back from Brighton, the Argentinian left back. I think he's only like 20 years old, 21 years old, and obviously he spent last season on loan to Strasbourg, and he's been heavily rumoured to join in Strasbourg permanently. And for me, this is controversial just because he's such a hidden talent from Argentina. Brighton did one of those fantastic piece of businesses again, where they brought him from, I want to say, Boca Juniors a few seasons ago. And obviously, you know, in the Premier League, maybe he just didn't hit the ground running straight away. He might not be physical enough in the Premier League to sort of do a good job in that sort of aspect. But for me, Barcola, you have to keep him for. But then again, saying that, for a you know, a Strasbourg, if they can get that deal over the line, I feel like that'll be a little bit of an unbelievable Jeff signing, just because obviously they've got English manager Liam Rosenior. Hopefully I've said that right. I've probably butchered his name, to be completely honest, and I do apologise for that. But I feel like his attacking style of play in the French league has definitely benefited Valentino Barcola, and I reckon, you know, that would be an unbelievable signing if they can get that off. So I'm going to put him in the unbelievable Jeff category, because I truly believe that Valentino Barcola will become a fantastic world-class left-back. It just depends if he can be that in the Premier League or not. Maybe the league's too physical, because when you look at his sort of stature, he is quite a small player. He doesn't have that much, you know, muscle on him, if you like. So from that sort of aspect of things, maybe if he, you know, can sort of develop in a few years' time, he might be back in the Premier League, who knows? But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, of course. Moving over to the second last player on this list, and that is Nicholas Jackson, okay, for Chelsea. Now, he's been linked away to a move to Juventus. Another Juventus move in this tier list, okay? Now, for me, this is controversial just because I feel like Nicholas Jackson could be a good backup striker to a Liam Delap. Now, don't get me wrong, he probably hasn't impressed the Chelsea fans and the Chelsea manager as much as they would have liked. Don't get me wrong, he does score a few goals here and there, but it's just not enough for what Chelsea are looking for. When you are a Chelsea striker, you've got to be scoring every game. You've got to be scoring once every 2 or 3 games, you know what I mean? And Nicholas Jackson just doesn't do that. So for me, I feel like when he would sign for Juventus, I don't know if he would be the starting striker either, to be honest, because you've got Dusan Vlahovic. Hopefully I've said that right. Again, probably said that wrong. But you do have him there starting ready for Juventus. I'm not too sure if Jackson would be a starting striker or not. I do think it would be I would say good business for Juventus, just because they're getting a backup option in there, okay? And for me, it just depends if Dusan Vlahovic actually does leave or not, because he's also been rumoured to a move in the Premier League at least. We don't know. We don't know if he'll leave. If Nicholas Jackson does come in as a starting striker, I could see it being half decent, because obviously the Syria, it could be another league where he sort of joins and tears it up. He was good in La Liga, in the Spanish league a few seasons ago with Villarreal. So if you can get the right manager around him, I think he can become a half decent striker, like a 10 to 15 goal striker, if he can have the right backing and right support around him and the right players to you know, provide those goals and assists for him. Okay, moving over to the most controversial player on this list, okay? For me, it is the last player on this list. For me, this guy was a world-class talent in the Premier League. He got a move to the Saudi League, and that is John Duran, okay? Now, for me, John Duran, obviously playing for Al Nassr in the Saudi League, playing with Cristiano Ronaldo, fantastic scenes, and he's recently scored 12 goals in 18 games, so he has done quite well from that point of view. But after 6 months in the Saudi League, right, he's potentially been linked away. He's been linked to a move to Fenerbahce, Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce. I've said that quite a few times in this video, okay? It is so surprising for John Duran to leave after 6 months. Why would you do that? Why would you join the Saudi League for 6 months and then leave? Maybe it is a money-motivated move. We don't know. Obviously, we've seen a lot of players move. There's a lot of rumours out there that players are moving for the money, and you can't blame them because that money is ridiculous. So why not? Why not do that, okay? Why not get the bag while you can? I understand it from that point of view. From a playing position, won't you join one of those top 5 leagues, like a Bundesliga, like an Italian league, like a Spanish league? Obviously, he's been in the Premier League at Aston Villa, where he showed his world-class ability, okay? For me, when he joined Aston Villa, I didn't know anything about the player. Obviously, he joined from the MLS, joined from Chicago Fire, and you know, I wasn't expecting big things from John Duran, but last season in the Champions League, he turned it on and went up another level. That goal he scored against Bayern Munich, chipping it over Neuer, was absolutely fantastic. Those goals where he was scoring from like 25 yards out into the top bins, okay? He was scoring top bin bangers for days, John Duran. I just don't get, if he's leaving, I want to say, what if he's leaving the Saudi League, why would he join Fenerbahce? Don't get me wrong, Jose Mourinho is there, he's the manager in charge. So from that point of view, you're joining a top coach in the world of football. Like, I understand it from that point of view, but again, with Jose Mourinho, you just don't know whether it's going to blow up in your face or not, just because, you know, we've seen time and time again, you know, if you don't get along with Jose Mourinho and if you don't get along with his style of play, if you don't fit into his plans, you could be out the door straight away. You've seen it with the likes of Zlatan Ibrahimovic at Inter Milan. You've seen it with like other players and like Paul Pogba, all these other types of players. So it is a bit of a tricky one for John Duran. I would have just thought he would have joined the top 5 league. So we just have to wait and see whether this transfer will blow up in his face or not. Don't get me wrong, for Fenerbahce, I think it is a brilliant deal. I feel like it's an unbelievable Jeff signing. So let's put him in that category, because Fenerbahce are getting a world-class talent, but again, I just don't know how long he's going to stay at that club for. I'm going to give it a year or two, and I feel like John Duran will be pushing for a move away from Fenerbahce to a more top 5 league, whether that's the Bundesliga, whether that's La Liga, whether that's the Premier League again, who knows. It's just a bit of a weird one. Like, he's got all the talent, he's got all the ability in the world to be a world-class player, to become a 20-goal season striker in the Premier League. That's what I thought he was going to be. I thought he would have joined like a Chelsea last season before he joined the Saudi League, because, you know, at a young age of, like, I want to say 21, 22 maybe, I'm not too sure, I just thought he would have, you know, joined a bigger team rather than signing himself out for the Saudi League at such a young age. But you can't blame the person, can you? Because obviously he's earning a lot of money, so you can't blame that at all. But yeah, this is my tier list. What do you guys think of all these players on this list, okay? Do you think Valentino Baccola is a fantastic piece of business? Do you think it's an unbelievable Jeff signing for Strasbourg? Do you think he's making a mistake leaving Brighton? How do you think about John Duran? Do you think that's unbelievable? Do you think that's another unbelievable Jeff signing for Fenerbahce? Do you think he should have joined a top 5 league? Yeah. How would you feel about Douglas Luiz potentially leaving Juventus after a year? Do you think that's a fantastic signing for any club in the Premier League? How do you feel about Jadon Sancho? How do you feel about Garnacho potentially leaving the Premier League as well? Joining either Juventus or Fenerbahce? Obviously, Sancho was linked to Fenerbahce. And yeah, how do you feel about Lucas Paqueta going back to his old club in Flamingo? Do you feel like he should stay at West Ham at all costs? Do you feel like West Ham should try and keep him? Yes, he probably had an off-season last year, but, you know, hopefully Graham Potter can potentially get the best out of him, because there is definitely a player in there. But yeah, those are all my questions, and I want to say a massive thank you for hitting 51 subscribers recently. You know, it's been absolutely incredible. All the support on my videos has been absolutely amazing. I can't thank you guys enough. But before that, as always, please like, comment, subscribe. It's very much appreciated, like I've just said. And I will stop rambling now, okay, because this video might be quite long. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Just a quick heads up, right? We might have another vlog for you guys on Friday. So just look out for that one, okay? My second vlog on this channel. So that's a little spoiler for you. So hopefully we can get everything sorted for that in time. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out.